Hi friends, welcome back. This is the array class number 2. So before you start with this class, I hope you have taken the array class number 1, because that will be very useful to understand the basics of array. This is just the further application and examples of the array function in Excel. Okay. So let's look at this example. In this example, this is my data list. Again, this is a very small data list just for the sake of example. So I want you to calculate, or I want you to count how many unique values are there in this list. Okay. Okay. Again, with this examples and with most of the further examples which we will have in our this examples for array or the other functions which we will study, we will see that how we combine the simple and the small functions and apply our common logic to it and solve most of the complex problem which we otherwise think is impossible in the Excel, right? So let's see how to solve this problem, right? So I want you to count the unique values in the given list. So what I mean is that how many unique data points is there. So we have 7, that is 1, 3, that is 2, 4, 5, right? Rest all are repetitive. Okay, so there are 4 unique values in this data list. So I want you to write a formula that will calculate or count the unique values in the list. Okay, so let's see how to do that. Again, first I will write the formula, the inclusive formula, and then we'll try and to break the formula and understand what is actually happening. So first of all, I will say sum. Okay, I will explain you why I am starting with the sum function here. So I say 1 divided by Countif. Okay. So what is my range for Countif? This is my range. Okay, now what is my criteria? Okay, so my criteria is, okay, let's understand this formula now. So I first want to check how many number of times 7 is appearing in this list, right? So my criteria here will become cell A4. Okay. The second time I would like to check how many times 3 is appearing in this list, then 4, then 5, then 5. Again, so for each of this data value, I want to calculate how many number of times they are entering in this data range. So this is my criteria list also, right? Because since we are using the array function, so instead of giving a single criteria, I can give it a array, right? Otherwise it's not possible. Since we are using an array function here, we can give a criteria as a array rather than a single cell reference. Okay, I close the bracket. Okay, I close the bracket for the sum function, and I guess I'm done. Let's press Ctrl Shift and enter, and I get my answer. Okay, you must be wondering what is happening, why sum, why 1 divided by etc. So let's now break this formula and see what is happening. So first I will start with Countif. Okay, so we have written a Countif formula. So this is my criteria range, and as I said, since it's an array function, I can use criteria as an array rather than a single cell, and I press Ctrl Shift and enter. Again, let's pre-select the output area and let's do again Ctrl Shift and enter. Okay, so what is happening here? So Excel will first go and count how many number of times 7 is appearing in this list. So you see that 7 is appearing 3 times. Okay, then it will go and check for 3 is appearing 1 times, 4 is appearing 1 time, 5. Okay, the parallel list I am counting. So 5 is appearing twice, again 7 is appearing 3 times, and again 7 is appearing 3 times. So what has Excel done? Excel has given this was the criteria range, and this was my criteria range, and this was my criteria. So first time it will take criteria as cell A4, then it will go and make criteria as A5, then it will make criteria as A6, and so on and so forth, and it will create a list at its background. Okay, so this is done. Now let's look at our formula. So what I am doing is 1 divided by this list. So whatever list has been created, I am doing equal to 1 divided by this list. Okay, so for all of this data I will do that. Okay, so Excel will divide each of this data by 1. Okay, so now this will help you understand that what we are finally doing is, so let's say if 7 is appearing 4 times. Okay, so and if it's appearing 4 times, so answer here will be 4. Okay, and 1 divided by 4 will be 0.25. And since it's appearing 4 times in our given list also, it will be there 4 times. Like for 7 we have 3 times we have counted how many number of times 7 are appearing, 1, 2 and 3, right? If it was 4, there would be 1 more data. So 4 times we would have counted how many times 7 is appearing, and each time we divided by 1. So 1 divided by 4, 1 divided by 4, 1 divided by 4, and again 1 divided by 4. Okay, so in this example since it's appearing 3 times, so what I'm doing is 1 divided by 3 and I get 0.33, and I do that size. So sum of all this, okay, sum of this data, okay, will always be equal to 1. If the data, okay, so it will be equal to 1. So how many times ultimately it will be counted? 1. Let's look at another example. So let's talk about 5. So first Excel will go and count here how many number of times 5 is appearing. It's appearing twice, okay. It divides 1 by 2, that is giving me 0.5. Again, for in this cell it will, since 5 is appearing again, it will count number of times 2, and again it will do 1 by 2. Finally when it sums up, it will always be equal to 1, right? So sum of all this will ultimately be equal to sum of all the unique value which we have in our list, and hence I am getting my answer as 4, right? If you want to check, let's see, I increase one of this value, let's say increase it to 7. So now how many unique values are there? 3. So you see that it has become 3. How is it working? So now 7 is appearing 4 times, okay. So we have 4 times 4 appearing, and every time it's dividing it by 1, it's giving 0.25. So ultimately the sum of all this will always be equal to 1. So this is the logic which we are using. It is a simple logic, okay, but given the problem situation, it is actually helping us resolve our problem. Clear, guys? It not only works for the number, it also works for text. Okay, so let's say if I have a mix of text and a number, so you can see that still now the answer is correct. So how many unique values are there? 7, 3, Varun and 5. So 4 unique values are there, right? So if I change it to Varun, again it will give me the right answer. If I change it to, let's say, Sumit, okay, so now there are 5 unique values, and so on and so forth. Clear? So we have not used any any hi-fi formula, any rocket science here. What we are simply doing is we are using a Countif function, which you are already aware of how it works, and I'm using a sum function along with some common logic and common sense, and I'm getting my formula with the array function. The advantage of array function here is that instead of doing a criteria check every time, I can just give it a criteria range or an array, so that for every cell it does that Countif check for me. Clear? So this is the advantage of the array function, along with, of course, various other single functions which help us solve our complex problem. Clear? Again, I'm just using this example to develop thought process or to see how do we combine various functions to solve the problems. Okay, now let's look at this problem, and this is a problem which many of you might be facing in your day-to-day life. I mean, this kind of a situation. So here what I want is sorry, I want you to calculate, okay, the values which is appearing in every 4th row. Okay, so yeah, so I want you to sum all the numbers which are appearing in the 4th row. Okay, so I want you to sum this number 4, then 8, then 12, and then 11. So I want you to sum up all the numbers which are appearing in the 4th row, right? Again, many times you have this situation like let's say if your periodical quarterly data is arranged vertically and you want to calculate the sum for all the 4th quarter, right? So these are the various examples where we can use this formula. So let's see how to do that. Okay, now again I will write an array function with a sum, because ultimately I want to sum. So I want to sum this number, okay, only if my criteria, okay, so first what I will do is I am just giving you the thought process how to solve this problem. So first Excel will create this list, okay, and then I will multiply it with another list, another counter list which I am creating, which will give 0 if the cell is not the 4th row, and which will give definitely 1 if the cell is a 4th row. Now I need to add another function to this, so that I create a list, which gives me true or false depending upon whether it is a 4th row or not, right? So in Excel we have a function called mod function. So before we continue with this, let's understand what is a mod function. You have studied this mod function in your school days in your arithmetic, right? So mod gives you a remainder if a data is divided by another number. So let's say if I say mod 5 and 2. So if my number is 5, my divisor is 2. So what will be the remainder? Right, my remainder will be 1. Okay. Similarly, let's say if I say mod of 9 and 3. So what will be my remainder? 0. Right. So this is how a mod function works. So what I will do here is I will divide each of this row number by 4. Okay, because that's the row. I am concerned with the row number, not with the actual number. So I will divide each of this row number by 4, Okay, and if the number is not equal to 0, Excel will give me a false. Okay, false means 0, so 0 multiplied by anything will be 0. So now you got the hint how do we solve this problem. So I start with sum. Okay, I give it an array and I say mod. Okay, then I say row. Okay, this is my row array. Okay, okay, so it will take row, yeah, and divided by my divisor will be 4. Okay, and I say if this is equal to 0, right? So this entire function, the mod function, will give me an answer is true or false. So what it will do is it will first go and take row a1. Okay, that is 1. Row a1 is equal to 1. It will divide it by 4. Whether this is equal to 0, it will give me false. It will come to second row. Whether this divided by 4 is equal to 0, no. This divided by 4 equal to 0, no. Only for the fourth row I will get my answer as true. So true means 1. So this list will be multiplied by only the fourth row, and finally I will get the sum. Let me close this bracket. Okay, and so I have closed the bracket for the mod function, and I need to close the bracket for the sum function, and I press Ctrl Shift and enter. What happened? Mod a1 to c is 16 equal to 0. Okay, so I am getting my answer as 128, which is definitely not correct. So let's see what went wrong. A1 to A16 mod row A1 to A16 4 is okay. So this mod function will give me my okay. If I want to check I want to check as well. See, so once I do a F9, once I have selected a segment of the function and I press F9, so you see that I am getting this is my array which Excel will throw. Okay, so if is 1 equal to 0, no. Is 2 equal to 0, no. Is 3 equal to 0, no. 0 equal to 0, it will say true. Right, so again, I'll get a list of all the true and false. Okay, so A1 to A16, and it will multiply it with this number. So there is something going wrong somewhere. Let's see. I don't need to give a bracket here, because otherwise it will first create the list and then give me the bracket. So if I want to come out of this F9, which I have pressed, so it's giving, rather than giving me the formula, it's giving me, I press escape. Okay, so let me not close the bracket here. Okay, so it will check for each of this row. Otherwise what it will do, it will check for the final ultimate number. And now let's see, press Ctrl Shift. Okay, it's giving me 0. There is something wrong somewhere. Or if I press, now if I give 0, so I have closed my mod function, it will do a check. Let's press Ctrl Shift and enter. I'm getting 128, which is definitely not the correct answer, because okay, let's do individually and see how is the list created. Okay, so I say mod. Okay, I give my row number. Okay, row A1 to A16. Okay, and I say if my divisor is 4, and I say is this equal to 0, and I close my bracket. Okay, let's press Ctrl Shift and enter. Why am I getting okay, let's do this. I say yes, and let me pre-select the output area. So you see that I am getting true for every fourth row, right? Oh, I got my point. I didn't do a multiplication here, right? So that's what the area. Okay, so now you have got the solution. So you see this entire mod function gives you a list like this, true or false. Okay, my A1 to A16 will create a parallel list for all this data. So now it will multiply this two lists. So wherever there will be false, I will be getting a 0. Only for all the true data, I will get the value which is equal to this value, and finally it will sum all this number. So ultimately what we will get is, we'll get the sum of all the values, okay, which have our ultimate output as 0. Sorry, ultimate output as row number 4. What is wrong here? So I am doing check. Okay. See, this is the problem, or this is something which we need to be very careful when we are working on Excel, is to keep your data, separate data in a separate row. So A1 to A16 into mod A1 to A16, okay, comma 4. Okay, let me close the mod bracket here, and I say okay, Control Shift and enter, and I'm still getting 0, What's the problem now? Okay, see, this is what we are doing here. So we are closing a bracket for the mod function here and checking whether it's equal to 0 or not, and then we are ultimately closing the bracket for the sum function. What is the problem now? Let's see F2 and I say Control Shift and enter. I'm getting a 0. Okay, so let me just simply, okay, let's compare. So if I want to list in the formula, I press Control and tilde. Okay, so I want to see what is the difference in this two formula which we have created. So this is mod row A1 to A16. We have 4. Okay, so that's my divisor. I'm closing my bracket for the mod function. I'm checking whether it's equal to 0 or not. Guys, I'm myself giving you a warning, and I'm myself making a mistake that I'm not putting this entire function within brackets. Okay, so now I'm definitely sure it will work absolutely fine. Okay, so I'm getting my answer as 35, which is nothing but sum of 4, 8, 12 and 11. You can see that the answer is 35. Clear? So once again, sorry for the confusion here, guys. So what we are doing is we are trying to sum up all the data which is there in the 4th row, right? So what I'll do is, what we need to do is we need to multiply with data with another counter list which we have created, something like this. Okay, a counter list will give you a false for all the other rows except for the 4th row, because here we want to add up all the 4th row. So what we do is we create a mod function. So I say go and check the row number divided by 4. Okay, if this is equal to 0, then give me a true, otherwise give me a false, right? So we created a mod function like this, and we multiplied this list with our original list. So only when it's true, this number will be included in our sum, else it will be giving me 0, right? So if you have to check the ultimate output, so this is how you can do it. So this is my list, okay, and then I'm multiplying this two data, so this into this. So you see that wherever I have false, that is for all the row which is not 4th row, I'm getting 0. For all the 4th row, I'm getting my data. So 8 multiplied by 1 will give me 8, and so on and so forth, and finally it will create a sum for all this number. Clear? So this is how an array function would work in this case, right? So again you see that we have used some simple function like row, mod, etc., and along with the array function I could solve the complex problem which otherwise was not solvable. Now here you see that I have the data starting from row number 1 itself. Let's say if my data, I have some heading and also let's say I write here marks, okay, and something. So my data is not starting from first row, right? So in that case what you will have to do is you'll have to make sure that the first row which you are checking, okay, is the first row. Okay, so when Excel calculates A4, so it will start with 4. So whether 4 divided by 4 will give you 0, Excel will say yes. So you have to make sure that in your calculation this becomes row number 1. So what you will do is you just have to add one more function here. You can say row minus row number this. Okay, so sorry, not 4 but rather 3 here, and let me freeze this number. Okay, okay, so I'll explain you what we are doing. I'm so sorry guys, this got deleted. Freeze this number and then press bracket. Yeah, so see what we are doing here is in this row function what will Excel do is Excel will say row A4. Row A4 is equal to 4, right? But we don't want this is, even though as per Excel this is the 4th row, but in our array this is the first row, right? So what I do is I make it a first row by subtracting the row number 3. So row 4 minus row 3 will give me 1. So Excel will check whether this is my first row or not now when dividing it by 4. So now I'll get the correct answer. Again you can see again I'm getting 35, which has earlier changed to 28. Clear? So you have to make sure that if this is not the first row in your table as per the Excel, you have to make it the first row by subtracting all the previous rows from it. Clear? So that's a small change which you need to take care of when you're not working on the when your table is not starting from the first row of the Excel. Clear? Let's look at the last example of the array function. And again, as we keep exploring more functions and keep solving more example, you will see that how we combine different functions to solve a complex problem. Okay, now this is again a situation in which many of us might be for different purpose of a different database. Here I want to pull the score, okay, if both my name and surname is matching, right? So if it was only name, I could have done it. Okay, so if both the surname, okay, so it's not a horizontal versus vertical data that I can use directly a match index. Okay, so I want to check whether I want to pull the score if both the name and the surname is matching. Okay, so how do I do that? Again, I start with an index function because I need to pull a data. Okay, so this is my index. Okay, again, why I'm giving it a single row, because once Excel will, this is a single column data which I want to pull. It's not a multiple column data. The data which I want to pull is ultimately it is in the single column, right? So to match the row number, right? So to match the row number, I will use a match function. Okay, so what do I want to match? I want to match Shalini and, okay, yes, we can use such functions in Excel, and same, that is the surname. Okay, what is my lookup array? This is my lookup array. Okay, again, I have started, you can see that I have started both my match function and the index function from the same row number, that is row number 4 here, and my surname, because what will Excel do in this case is it will first go and check E3 in this array A4 to A11, then it will go and check F3 in array B4 to B11. Again, it's only possible because of this array function, otherwise it's not possible. And I give 0 for the exact match. Okay, column I don't need to give because it's a single column table, so I close my table and I press Ctrl Shift and enter. So you see that I got my score for Shalini Sen, which is 65. Okay, and you can see that if I change any of this data point here, let's say if I want to see the score for Vivek Kedia, so if it's Vivek Sen, Excel will throw an error because there is no name here called Vivek Sen. But if I change it to Vivek Kedia, you can see that I am getting the score for Vivek Kedia. How do we create this drop down list? It's a very easy function, guys. We will explore it in our next class, which is the data function. So don't bother about it right now. Right now you can see that with an array function, what otherwise looks a complicated task can be done very easily. So here Excel is doing a 2 vertical lookup, that is the name and the surname in our given table, and it's pulling the score accordingly. Clear? So this is another beautiful example or the application of the array function. And as I say, these are just the examples to develop some of our thought process, but this is not the end. Array function in Excel has an unlimited application and usability, so we can explore it further as per our needs and requirement. If you have any question, please feel free to put it on the comment and we will try and solve it for you. Thank you, guys. This is all we have in our array class. We will see you again for the next part of this class, which will be the data function. Thank you.